Hello there and welcome to Clay Disarray, a calm creative corner of YouTube. Today I'm going to be having a bit of a moan because it's getting really hard for artists out there. So I've been on Twitter for around 10 years now, so I've made a number of acquaintances in the form of artists and illustrators, designers. So I'm not on my own in this thinking process. You know, I see it every day. Other artists are really struggling, and it's for a number of reasons. Obviously, COVID has had a huge lasting effect on the world, and very many industries have suffered as a consequence, and not least the art industry is going through a really challenging time, and particularly, you know, indie artists are just finding it really difficult. Contracts seem to have dried up. It's really difficult to get clients, and in particular commercial clients, although saying that the cost of living crisis has made things really difficult for individuals as well. So everybody out there is making a conscious decision as to whether they, can afford to live right now. So the thoughts of supporting indie artists in the form of, I don't know, Patreons or buying their work, etc. It's something that I'm seeing kind of drying up among other artists. I don't have a Patreon myself. I have been tempted, but I had one for a very short time and I found it really difficult to maintain. I think if you've got quite a large following, I think it's probably easier or more motivating to keep your Patreon going. But if you've got a small number of people supporting your work, it can be a lot of work for sometimes not very much money really. Through my own personal experience, I've been freelancing for the last few years, and I haven't been very well over the last few years, so it's kind of impacted on the amount of commissions that I can take on. But I'm really seeing such a dramatic decrease in inquiries from commercial agencies, and this is repeated among my peers. Everybody's saying that they seem to be having fewer and fewer inquiries, and probably more requests for free work, which no artist should be doing really. So I'm at a place where I'm not really sure as to what to do. I do need to do a mail out to prospective clients at some point soon, but I'm not expecting a whole lot of interest in return really. It's a tricky one. The next issue is Brexit. Where do I start with this one? It's made things so much more difficult. It's a two-way thing. It's really difficult to sell to the EU now because there's added red tape in sending items out to EU customers, and also they get their tariffs to pay at their ends as well. So it makes the whole idea of buying from a UK artist a lot less appealing, and I've definitely lost out on sales this way. I don't want to bore you too much with the detail of sending to the EU these days. That's probably a whole other video, but suffice to say, I've now stopped selling to the EU because it's just too difficult. Also, of course, I have to buy goods as well, and I use predominantly Fimo products, and it's a German company. They're of course in the EU, so the costs of Fimo have just gone up and up and up over the last few years, and some products are near on impossible to get hold of now. Liquid Fimo, I'm finding doll arts clay to be increasingly difficult to get hold of. I don't know if that's across the board or whether it's a UK issue, but certainly, products are a lot more difficult to get hold of and way more expensive now. The next absolute delight that we have to deal with is the algorithm, and you've no doubt heard various artists and creators talk about the algorithm at some point, and it's basically really difficult for artists to know what kind of content to create for each and every different social media platform. For instance, Instagram was so useful for artists, up until a few years ago when Meta acquired it. And it was, yeah, just a delight to use. You were able to upload images of your work and, you know, process images, behind the scenes images, and it was never, you know, a huge amount of work, but the platform obviously seems to favour reels these days, and that's a whole other different, you know, kettle of fish really. It can take forever to make a reel, and there's no guarantee it's ever going to take off. In fact, you'll be lucky if your followers even get to see it. And that's just Instagram, you know, each and every platform has different rules. They're constantly changing goalposts, so it's really difficult to keep on top of everything. And you know, we're all out there trying to run a business. We just haven't got time to be researching what each platform has got going on and differences they're going to be making. And yeah, it's just really hard. I used to really like Twitter, and it was certainly the most beneficial of all platforms for getting my work out there, meeting prospective clients, art directors, such like, making individual sales, and yeah, it was just always really helpful for me. But since Mr. Musk took over, you know, it's completely different. I refuse to call it X, you know, it's always going to be Twitter to me. And I did make the decision to stop posting last year, and I tend to favour Mastodon these days, but I just found it was really difficult to try and get my work seen by, you know, art directors really, because although artists are trying to leave Twitter in their masses, art directors don't seem to want to follow. So of course you need to stay around in places where your work's likely to be seen in order to get commissions really. So I've started posting on Twitter again. But you know, I'm not hopeful. I really wish I didn't have to use it, because I just really hate what it is these days. I would just love it if somebody else just bought it and, you know, returned it to its glory, as, you know, the original Twitter, but that's completely unlikely. But I'll no doubt continue posting on there, and, you know, in the hope that it gets seen by art directors really. And because of Twitter basically breaking down, it's led to, you know, a whole host of different media platforms kind of popping up. There's Blue Sky and Threads, and you know, it's just all becoming really confusing as to, you know, where to post, how often. You know, it's really difficult to, you know, put aside time for social media as it is, as a, you know, individual kind of freelance artist. But having all of these different platforms is becoming, you know, just impossible really. I think it's better just to focus on one or two. So for me, I'm going to be posting, you know, work on Twitter, occasionally on Instagram, but I'm going to be mainly hanging out on Mastodon. But as I say, art directors aren't there, but it's the platform that I like out of all of them at the moment. And obviously, YouTube is another social media platform, and I've been on it for around 7 years through my clay disarray channel, probably a bit longer now actually. And it's just really difficult trying to suss out the algorithm. It's, you know, really difficult trying to work out, you know, what kind of content people want to see really. I think most YouTubers would really like to experiment with, you know, different kinds of content, but it's something that YouTube doesn't seem to like in itself. It seems to want you to kind of replicate the kind of same format of video all the time, which you know, it doesn't seem very creative, does it? So yeah, YouTube is a quandary. And the last of the 4 horsemen of the creative apocalypse is AI art. Where to start with this one? It's just an absolute mess, isn't it? Only this week I saw that Pink Floyd have announced some winners of an animation contest they had. And I think it was a number of tracks on an album. I've not gone into it in any great depth because I'm not a fan of the bands, but one of the winners created just the worst AI monstrosity that you'll ever see. And I'm just absolutely shaken to my core that, you know, really talented and gifted artists and animators have been overlooked for, I don't even know how to describe it. It is so awful, and I don't want to share it on here because, you know, I don't want to be copyright stricken at any point by Pink Floyd. But, you know, if you just kind of have a look on Twitter and just search for, you know, Pink Floyd contest winners or entrants, and you know, I'm just absolutely dumbfounded. What on earth are we doing as a society? And added to that, I've seen no end of examples of artists or illustrators losing out on work because publishers or whomever have decided to opt for an AI piece of art. And, you know, I'm using the term art in the loosest sense of the word because it makes no sense to me whatsoever. And obviously, the more that we normalise, you know, using AI arts, we have to remember that somebody somewhere is losing out as a result. And you know, it's just a whole minefield, isn't it? I don't know what we're doing really, and it seems to be affecting no end of industries. For instance, I saw this image on some, I don't know, awful Facebook page that just came up as a suggested page, but this is a supposed cake, and I noticed that there was a load of bakers underneath saying that they're having no end of problems with prospective customers coming in, showing them pieces like this, saying, I want this made, you know, exactly the way it's shown here. And I don't know about you, but this isn't a very convincing cake to me. The cow's head looks like it's made of plastic, and, you know, it looks like it's kind of suspended in the air. I'm not at all convinced that this is a real cake, so I don't know why other people might think it is. So, you know, you can really see how this is going to affect all sorts of industries. I guess you could argue that I'm less at risk because I'm a, you know, handmade or, you know, 3D tactile artist, but how long will it be before, you know, 3D printers are really commonplace and people are able to, you know, knock off a 3D piece if they want? And I was really so disheartened to see there's a really, you know, well-known art school in Paris that have, you know, been encouraging their students to have a tinker around with the old AI. So where are we headed? I don't know, but I don't like it. I think it's really scary that already we don't know kind of what's real and what isn't online, you know, with deep fakes, and particularly in election years. It's really dangerous territory if people can believe that this is a cake. What else are they going to believe? So I'm sorry that it's been a bit of a negative video this week, but I've just wanted to offload about it because it's just been really kind of dawning on me over recent months what a difficult old time it is we're all having as creatives. And, you know, if you're suffering too, you're certainly not alone. There's, you know, loads of people I know that are having, you know, real issues with keeping going, and some names that you wouldn't even think would have issues with, you know, getting work, that they're really struggling. So I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means long term for us. I think for me, I'm going to have to keep going because with my MCAS or mast cell activation syndrome, I'm basically homebound or housebound because of various health issues. So yeah, it means that I have to work from home, and you know, I have days where I'm too poorly to do anything. So I just have to try and make it work somehow. And yeah, I'm not quite not quite sure how at the moment, but I'm going to keep hanging on in there. I'd love to hear your stories of how you're getting on too, if you're a creative or an artist. So by all means, let me know your experience down below. What barriers are you facing? Are there any others that I've not mentioned here? I'm certain that there are. And I'd also love to hear from you if you've been able to, you know, overcome a barrier as well, or perhaps you're, you know, flourishing as an artist. You know, there's certainly some artists that have been able to kind of ride the waves. So that's encouraging, I guess, isn't it? But anyway, I was going to say, I hope you enjoyed the video, but it's, yeah, not a great topic to cover really, because it's not very inspiring, isn't it? But I hope you got something out of it anyway. That kind of makes more sense, doesn't it? So thanks for watching. Give it a like if you got this far, and I'll see you again soon.